Caleb noticed the silence before answers. Not the awkward kind. The practiced kind. The kind people use when they've already decided what not to say. Nora used to answer immediately. Not quickly, just honestly. Thoughts arrived, and words followed. Now there was a delay. When Caleb asked, "Did work calm down today?" Nora inhaled first. Then, "Yeah. It was fine." The sentence landed smoothly. The breath before it did not. They had been together 6 years. Lived together for 3. Nothing was wrong in a way that could be explained. Bills were paid. Plans were made. Photos still looked right. Friends called them solid. Caleb had started to hear that word as a warning. One evening Nora said, "My sister asked where we see ourselves in a few years." Caleb felt something tighten. He thought about the mortgage. About how conversations had shifted from us to eventually. He replied, "What did you tell her?" Nora smiled. "I said we're good." The pause came after this one. They didn't argue anymore. Arguments required friction. They had learned to avoid that. When something bothered Nora, she adjusted. Schedules changed. Expectations lowered. Caleb noticed he was doing the same. They were accommodating each other into strangers. Caleb finally asked, "Do you ever feel like we're holding back?" Nora didn't look surprised. She took a moment. Then said, "I think we've just grown up." It was the right answer. It didn't feel like the true one. That night, lying beside her, Caleb thought, what if this isn't distance? What if it's rehearsal? Not for leaving. For existing separately. After that, Caleb stopped reacting to what Nora said. He listened to how long it took to say it. The pauses grew familiar. And familiarity, he realized, was how people prepare themselves. Caleb understood something too late to say out loud. Some relationships don't end with a decision. They end with timing. Caleb didn't confront the silence. He studied it. He started doing something small. When Nora asked a question, Caleb waited. Not long enough to seem cold. Just long enough to mirror her pauses. "Do you want dinner out or in?" Caleb let the moment stretch. "In," he said eventually. Nora glanced at him. The look passed quickly. But it stayed with him. Over the next few days, something changed. Nora became more precise. Less casual. She clarified statements that didn't need it. Rephrased things already understood. As if language itself had become unstable. Caleb said nothing. Silence worked better than arguments ever had. One night, Nora asked, "Are you upset with me?" Caleb answered honestly, "No." Then he added, after a pause, "I'm just thinking." She nodded, but her shoulders tightened. Caleb realized something important. People don't fear anger. They fear ambiguity. They went to dinner with friends. The conversation flowed easily. They laughed at the right times. Finished each other's sentences. Someone said, "You two are in sync." Nora smiled. Caleb did too. But sync, he thought, can also mean repetition. On the way home, Nora said, "Tonight was nice." Caleb agreed. What he didn't say was, "Nice doesn't require honesty." The pause stayed with them all the way home. Caleb began testing something else. He stopped volunteering reassurance. Not withdrawing it. Just not offering it first. "I'll be late," Nora said one evening. "Okay," Caleb replied. No follow-up. No. Drive safe. Nora hesitated at the door. Then left. Later that night, she said quietly, "You feel different." Caleb didn't deny it. "I'm just paying attention," he said. "To what?" Caleb paused. "To what we don't say." Nora didn't respond right away. When she did, her voice was careful. "I don't like that." Caleb nodded. Neither did he. But liking wasn't the point anymore. Caleb realized the silence between them was no longer accidental. It was listening. And soon, it would answer. Nora stopped pausing naturally. She started choosing when to pause. Caleb noticed it immediately. Her pauses were shorter now. Placed. As if she had learned the rules. And decided to play carefully. When he asked, "Do you want to visit my parents this weekend?" she answered too quickly. "Sure." The speed felt defensive. They began speaking in finished thoughts. No wandering sentences. No half ideas. Everything arrived complete, polished. Safer that way. Caleb missed the messiness more than he expected. One night, Nora said, "I feel like we're overanalyzing everything." Caleb waited. The pause didn't come. "I think we should relax," she added quickly. "Not turn this into something bigger." The words were reasonable. The lack of space between them wasn't. Caleb wanted to ask, "Do you want to relax? Or do you want to avoid?" He didn't. Because he knew the answer would arrive cleanly. And clean answers were the most dishonest now. They were still affectionate. But timing had changed. Hugs ended a second earlier. Hands let go first. It wasn't rejection. It was preparation. Caleb forgot his phone at home one afternoon. When he came back, the apartment was quiet. Nora was sitting on the couch. She looked up, too quickly. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said immediately. No pause. No breath. Caleb didn't ask what she'd been doing. The answer would have arrived too fast. That night, they lay in bed facing opposite directions. Nora spoke into the dark. "You're waiting for something." Caleb didn't deny it. She continued, "And you think I don't know?" There it was. Recognition without confrontation. Caleb finally said, "I think we're practicing for a conversation we're scared to have." Nora was quiet. This time, the pause was real. Long. Heavy. But when she spoke, she didn't answer. She asked, "Do you think that conversation ends us?" Caleb realized something unsettling. When people start asking about endings, they've already imagined them. After Nora asked the question, nothing ended. That was the strangest part. Caleb expected something dramatic. An argument. A breakthrough. A confession. Instead, the days continued. They went to work. They ate dinner. They discussed logistics. But something had shifted quietly. They were no longer protecting the relationship. They were protecting themselves. Nora became gentler. Not warmer. Gentler. She checked in more. Asked before making plans. "Is this okay? Does that work for you?" Caleb recognized the behavior. It wasn't repair. It was documentation. Caleb found himself doing the same. He softened disagreements. Avoided jokes that could be misunderstood. They were treating each other like fragile objects. Intact. But no longer usable. One evening, Nora said, "I might go stay with my sister for a few days." Her voice was neutral. Casual. Caleb felt his chest tighten. But he asked the right question. "For what reason?" Nora paused. This time, she didn't rush. "I think we need to see who we are. When we're not managing each other." Caleb nodded. "That makes sense," he said. It did. Which was why it felt devastating. They agreed easily. Too easily. Over the next 2 days, they organized. Not packing. Organizing. Who would water the plants? What groceries would expire? Every practical detail handled. Nothing emotional touched. On the morning Nora left, she stood at the door. They hugged. Not long. Not cold. Familiar. She said, "I'll text you." Caleb replied, "Okay." Either of them added, "I'll miss you." The door closed. The apartment was quiet. Caleb didn't feel abandoned. He felt unobserved. For the first time in months. There was no timing to manage. Caleb understood something too clearly. Distance doesn't create endings. It reveals whether one was already there. The conversation didn't arrive with urgency. It arrived when neither of them was bracing for it. The first few days passed without difficulty. Caleb noticed relief first. Not happiness. Relief. He cooked when he wanted. Left lights on. Let thoughts finish themselves. The quiet didn't accuse him. It accepted him. Nora texted as promised. Short updates. Neutral tone. Got here safe. Spending time with my sister. No emotional punctuation. Caleb matched it. They were mirroring each other one last time. By the end of the week, the difference was clear. Caleb felt lighter. Not free. But no longer compressed. Nora, on the other hand, called more often. She asked about ordinary things. How's the apartment? Did the plant on the windowsill survive? Caleb answered honestly. Everything's fine. The pause came after this one. On the 8th day, Nora said, Can we talk tonight? Not soon. Not when you're ready. Tonight. Caleb agreed. His chest didn't tighten this time. They didn't start with explanations. Nora said, I think I know what this is. Caleb waited. I don't think we're broken, she continued. I think we've just been careful for too long. Caleb nodded, though she couldn't see it. Yes, he said. That's exactly it. Nora exhaled. I don't know how to want you loudly anymore. The sentence hung between them. Caleb didn't rush to soften it. I don't know how to stay small for someone I love, he replied. No blame. No defense. Just alignment. They didn't apologize. There was nothing to fix. They named what was true. That love had turned into management. That care had become caution. That neither of them was wrong. They were just no longer the same shape. So what do we do? Nora asked. Caleb answered after a real pause. We stop practicing endings. And choose one. Silence followed. Then Nora said, I agree. They didn't cry. They talked logistics calmly. When she would pick up her things. How to tell friends. At the end, Nora said, I'm glad we didn't drag this out. Caleb was too. After the call, Caleb sat alone. He realized something simple and heavy. Some relationships don't end because love disappears. They end because honesty finally arrives. The hardest conversations aren't loud. They're the ones that sound like relief.